All right, guys, welcome back. A lot of you have reached out about cloud careers and you want some information on that. So today I'm bringing on the man who he's the cloud man on the internet. He's gotten more people cloud jobs than anyone I've ever met. His name is Broadus Palmer. And Broadus, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you, man. It's an honor to be on the show, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so guys, Broadus has started the Level Up in Tech community to help people scale their cloud careers. I've actually joined as the career coach in that space.
Yeah, extremely valuable as well.
Yeah, so let's get right into it though. So cloud careers, we know they're high paying. A lot of people want some information on it. Why don't you just get started? Like, what exactly does a cloud engineer do on a day-to-day?
Yeah, so when we think of cloud, we think of just someone else's computer, somewhere else in the world. So you literally take your computer and you can log into an application like Netflix, or you can even log into another server somewhere and build your own computer that's just over the internet. And what we do as cloud engineers can be several things, because cloud engineering is just a job title, but when you look at the job descriptions, you can just take 5 cloud engineer roles you find on LinkedIn and you will find 5 different job descriptions. But for the most part, right, we build infrastructure that can deploy code. We monitor and manage that infrastructure to make sure it never goes down. So I always like to use the Netflix analogy. So think of Netflix pride their company on never going down, because they have so many users that if they do go down, that's millions of dollars lost, right? So we want to make sure that we monitor and manage this infrastructure, services, applications that we build for Netflix, and make sure that it doesn't go down. And even on the security side, we make sure that we follow security fundamental protocols to make sure no one can access our environment that doesn't have access, or anyone can attack this environment to make our servers go down. Because some people always love to just bring a business down to their knees by finding loopholes to get into the environment, steal data, sabotage servers or services to make sure a customer can't reach that particular application. And we just do that all day. Now, this could be consisted of someone who works in a ticket-based system where they just get tickets all day, where depending on the client that their organization works with, they would just focus on working on solving those particular tickets, and they may have a quota of 20 tickets a day. Or it could be where we typically working on a project with a customer where I may have to do what was called Terraform, use infrastructure as code to help build out this infrastructure for the customer and deploy their services and applications. And this is all I focus on every day. Some cloud engineers have minimal work to do, and they're just in meetings using their brain, giving ideas on how to solve XYZ for the customer every single day. So it depends on the company, it depends on the needs, but overall, a gist of a cloud engineer, I explain, we build, we manage, we monitor, and we secure everything in the cloud environment, from the network to the servers, to object storage, to security services, to logs, to auditing who comes in and out of our network, etc. So I hope that makes sense for y'all.
Yeah. So you deal with a lot of entry-level people. What's the first thing you do? You sit them down on Linux? Do you just go right to AWS? Like, what do you teach them, like step one, like baby steps?
First thing we teach them is to understand that there's no bubble that anyone's walking around in this industry that says you can't do what they do, right? So some people come in with a dream and say, hey, I do want to work for a company like AWS. I do want to work for a company like Google or Netflix. And I do want to make $500K a year. Okay, it's nothing around those folks that work for the company that says you can't do the same thing. Here's the thing. The tech can be learned. Anyone can learn the tech that's out right now. This is where we have to change, because a lot of people, before we do anything, a lot of people come in with the thought process of can't do this anyway. Like, I know I can't do this. But what they're doing is they say to themselves, well, let me try it, because I don't want to put myself out of an opportunity if it's one there, but let me try this because I might be able to do it. But if I come across any resistance, or if I fail or something seems a little too hard, then I know it's not for me. And they fail to understand that the journey of failing, the resistance, the bang your head against the wall when you can't figure something out and you have to consult people to try to figure this out, that's just a process forging you into the engineer that you asked to be. Because when you say that's what you want to be, the universe will conspire to create events, help you meet people, give you the energy to go through this process. But we are already in our head feeling that we can't do it in the first place because it's far-fetched for us, but we just want to give it a try. So the first thing we do is just try to get the mindset right, because this is a lifelong learning journey. And you have to understand that. And then when you do understand that no one in the industry knows anything, tech is just evolving all the time. The only thing they know is just things they've been exposed to over and over and over. And soon as you become exposed to those things, you have the experience as well. So once you understand that, it's a level playing field for you to go out there and be curious and learn anything you want. Then we start with the technical stuff to get their hands on, to get them exposed to, becoming experienced. So the first thing we do start with is just fundamentals, IT fundamental stuff, cloud fundamental stuff. But also what's very important for someone is to understand server administration, Linux or Unix, Windows, whatever. But Linux is the heart and soul of a lot of cloud. So you don't have to become an expert in Linux. You can get a job as a Linux admin, a Linux engineer, and work in the cloud as well. Like I told you, these jobs are interchangeable with their titles, but you don't have to become an expert. It's just all about building the foundations, because we help you build a foundation of 60% of those foundations is going to be a skill set or skill sets that you need across the board to get opportunities for a lot of these roles that are out there in cloud. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. And so when it comes to cloud fundamentals, would those fundamentals transfer over to AWS, Azure, GCP?
Yeah.
Does it matter?
Yeah.
Do you teach people, do you kind of like focus on one or the other? And what are the kind of strengths and weaknesses, maybe career-wise, for each one?
So cloud is cloud. So like if you're learning cloud fundamentals, this applies to any cloud platform. So Oracle, it can apply to private cloud like Dell's Apex or VMware. It applies to AWS, applies to Azure when you're learning just the fundamentals. So we always get the question of like, hey, which one do I do? Is it AWS, Azure? I just want to, and it doesn't matter because all companies use GCP, they use Azure or AWS. And if you're learning one, right, let's say you spend your time at AWS and then you go to a company that's really focused on Azure, it doesn't mean you don't have a shot. It just means you can brush up and easily you learn Azure because you already understand the fundamentals of cloud and understand how AWS works. They all have the same services. They're just named different things. So typically I would just look at the type of roles that you want. So it's just different industries that use different things. So if you go to, like, for instance, airlines, you're working for an airline, some, not all, you're working for an airline, you're working for healthcare or banks, etc. They tend to use a little more Microsoft because they're already a Microsoft shop. So it's easier for them to transition their Microsoft stuff into Azure. But a lot of companies use multiple cloud services, and a lot of companies use AWS. So I would say just pick one. There's no wrong answer because the skills you're going to learn are going to change your life. Don't worry about what John's doing. Don't worry about what Susie's doing. Worry about what you want to do, the money that you're trying to make, and who you need to be in order to make it.
One easier than the one thought of as easier than the other, or are they pretty much thought of the same?
They are. So AWS is, I would say, more, if you don't have any tech background whatsoever, AWS is a little more friendly. GCP is a little more beginner friendly as well. Azure is friendly, but Azure uses a lot of language and a lot of services that already thinks that you come from a Microsoft background. So if you haven't dealt with any VDIs or you haven't looked at Office 365 or anything, Active Directory, etc., it may be a little more complex for you to learn outside of AWS and GCP. So absolutely.
And one question I've always said, what's the benefit of companies using, you said sometimes up to 3 different clouds? Like why are these big companies using different ones? What would be the purpose of that?
Yeah, so it could be disaster recovery. It could be just not having vendor lock in, where if you put all your eggs in one basket, it could be super expensive for you to get out of that basket.
Okay.
Sometimes it could just be that AWS has the best infrastructure that we want to run, but GCP has the best databases. And these databases spread across Azure and AWS. And we want to use this database because we like our real time data. So maybe we do a lot of streaming, and AWS does it as well, but I'm just saying from a business standpoint, maybe I love GCP's databases more because I'm out here and we have a football team and we want to calculate, how our football players move and calculate if this person goes left and he's taking 3 steps to the left, he has a 64% chance to score a touchdown this way, other than going to the right. And he has a 30% chance that way. And this database in GCP does it. And I might use Active Directory in Microsoft as well, because I like that IAM platform, so I can give permissions and grant access, create groups and everything to access all of our infrastructure, all of our services, etc. So it's just different reasons: cost optimization, biases. Some people are just biased when they run a company, and security related as well.
Yeah. And what about a cloud solutions architect? Like, that was one question I always get. What's the difference, that versus a cloud engineer?
Yeah, so a cloud solutions architect, or solutions architect period, is a level above engineering. So you liken an architect just like an architect who builds or designs homes. So you do have architects who went to school and stuff and never built a home and became great architects, and that's cool. But I think to really make a great architect, you have to be a great engineer. So think of this. Think of if you're building a home and this architect is designing your home based on what you said you wanted, and it's calculating what you're going to need, how much it's going to cost. But a great architect can understand better if they built homes as well, especially if they built homes in that area. So now if you ask for a pool, they can say, hey, you know what, this sounds great, and we could design the pool that you want. However, we have to design it this way because my experience in building homes on these type of lots, this type of soil, etc., it would be, unsafe to build the pool the way that you want it. And this is what we're thinking so far. Because if not, then you will have to be designing things for the client. And then you go to the engineer, and the engineer says, "Oh, we can't do that because such and such." And you're like, oh my God. So now you got to go and tell the client that you can't do things that way. What I'm saying is, a lot of people come to me and say, I just passed my solutions architect associate, man. I'm trying to get a solutions architect role. And you have to understand, a solution architect has experience in designing, building, deploying, scaling, and following frameworks to be able to help companies deploy their own infrastructure or help clients migrate over to the cloud. Because you're going to be the face of that project, and you're going to be talking to C-suite level executives, and you have to understand a lot of the business acumen that they're going through, and you have to understand their business and what's working and what's not working, and how you're going to be able to design their whole architecture or migrate them over to the cloud that works for them, that is cost optimized. We following security protocol, we following migration application protocol, we're following a lot of frameworks to build this thing right. And if you haven't had experience doing that, then that job is just going to severely stress you out because you don't know what you're doing. So the best step for you is to get into a hands-on cloud role, then start building good hygiene of learning why the things you are doing and how they are impacting the business, and then learn the business as you go.
Yeah. And what about cloud data engineers? Like, is there a difference between a data engineer and a cloud data engineer?
Yeah, so data engineers use tools. They use private platforms, but they still use the same tools. Cloud data engineers just a person who uses cloud services to wrangle data. A data analyst could use cloud services, but they use other on-prem platforms as well, or services, to do their things. Typically, these roles could be interchangeable, because you could have somebody just say, I'm a data engineer, and a role that says data engineer. Guess what? You're working in AWS, you're working at GCP, so it's the same thing. So just read the job description and what they require, and then you would just understand, like, oh, I need 60% of these skills to be able to land that type of role. I hope that answers
Mhm.
your question.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you seeing in the entry level market, like right now?
So what I'm seeing in the entry level market is, I want to say this because I'm scared some people, but a lot of the entry level roles are being this grunt work. That's what we call it, right? And a lot of the grunt work is being eaten up by AI. So not saying there are not any entry level roles, but the requirement for entry level people is way different than it was from 2020 to 2024. You're required to start thinking about business impact, start thinking about architecture, start thinking about scalability, elasticity, start thinking about security. It's number one. It's no more order takers. We used to be order takers where we get on a project, they give us something to do, and we just do it. We don't understand why, we just know how. Now with AI, we have to understand the why as well. We have to learn, like, if we're implementing this model on top of what we're doing, what are some of the security constraints? What are some of the performance constraints? What do we need to build to make sure this continues to scale and scale at a cost optimization ceiling that we are not spending too much money on this until we actually see a return? If you want to get into cloud, the technical skills still have to be there. I'll say about 50%. But if you can dive deep into the company that you want to work for and understand what they're doing, and then take your projects that you do and correlate it around business impact for that actual organization, you'll get in the room faster because we're still interviewing people that are just order takers. And once again, someone is on the same level and you come in and you're talking about business impact, the future tools that are being used, and what you can be curious what to optimize time of delivery, optimize time of work that you put in, and make you work more efficiently, then you're the person for the job rather than a person who just says, I did a static website in S3 and I just hosted this resume so you can see what I do. That's no longer the thing.
Yeah. So always frame all of your answers, especially, well, I mean, just throughout your entire career, ROI and business impact. You're saying just get ahead of that. Right?
Yeah, because you shouldn't look at yourself as an employee trying to land a job. You should look at yourself as a business looking to build your services to land the best client. And sometimes your client, right, is most of the time in tech, your client is an organization. So not only you should present what you can do for them, but you should present the outcome. By me doing this would allow a 20% reduction in the money that you're spending on this service. It will allow you to focus your team on doing 90% of this grunt work, and now you're focusing 90% on actual business impact, things that move the needle. If you can start thinking that way and aligning everything you do with the company's problems that you're trying to apply to, it's no question that you shouldn't have the conversation. It's all about the conversation that you should have then. That makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the thing today. Hands-on is cool, but now how do you market yourself as the person that can solve problems? And people don't care about the plane, they care about the destination. So show them what you do, where it's going to lead them, and you'll be getting offers in no time.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. You have to think it's not like a free charity handout, like they're paying you to get an ROI of some kind. So if
Right.
you're already kind of answering those questions,
Yep.
you're now one step ahead.
Yep.
But one thing I know a lot of people think about and talk about in this space is certifications. So let's hear it from you. Let's hear your best certification sauce.
Okay.
Which ones you like? Which ones don't you like?
Okay.
What's worth it? What's not? Let's go.
So all of them are worth it, but you have to, like, the certification is more of a tool. Okay. So think about it like this. Think about if I'm a person who wanted to remodel this office. Would it, let's just think you're a person, you live here, you want to remodel this office. And let's just say I came to you and I said, hey Chris, I could remodel your office. And you're like, for real? Oh, wow. Okay. The first thing you want to see is show me other offices. What other offices have, or other rooms have you remodeled, or homes have you remodeled? And let's say, only thing I will say is, well, what is the certification of contracts? I'm AAA certified. And you like,
Right.
okay, that's cool, but that don't tell me you can remodel my office. So what's the best thing to do is hey, here's how I can remodel your office. And guess what? Now you're showing them pictures and videos of the offices and homes that you remodel. But now you're also breaking it down as, hey, this is why I did her office like that because she wanted blah, blah, blah. And we had a little issue where she wanted something hanging for the ceiling, but we had to put a new beam in, et cetera, et cetera. You're explaining to me why you did the things you did and the outcome that you helped her with because you gave her what she wanted. Now, if you came after that and said, and also I'm AAA certified as well. Wow, okay. AAA certified, you gave me exactly what I'm wanting to see in a carpenter. You're on the top of the list, buddy. You're the top of the list. So the certification is a tool. You shouldn't focus on, let me get these certs and then hey, I'm gonna apply. I see people all the time. Hey man, I got the CCP. And this is a foundational, non-technical IT cert. This is typically a cert that you will see for sales. And I got a certified cloud practitioner. I got the AZ 900, or I got the cloud digital leader. I'm trying to apply to this cloud role. You're not gonna get it. Now, if you had that cert and you showed that you can solve their problem, then the cert is just a bonus. So they're not useless. It's just people are using them the wrong way. And there's no particular one that says you can land this job if you have it. Because I've had people who come in my program with both of the professional level certs, the DevOps Engineer Pro and the Solutions Architect Pro. And they knew nothing about Linux, nothing about automation, nothing about continuous integration and delivery, nothing about nothing. So because you can pass this cert and because you could cram all that information and because you can use Wiz Labs or any other dump to pass it, doesn't mean you can do the job. So just focus on doing the job first and making sure you can give the customer what they want. Then focus on the certification to wow them at the end. Like, and I'm certified with 3 associate level certs. So you could do all of that and you certified. Cool. We good.
Okay, so you think it's a nice to have?
Yeah, nice to have. So one thing I really break down is like the certification does you no good. It just gets you in the door. It actually does the company more good than it does you because companies have vendor partnerships. So the certification that they ask you for doesn't give them the understanding of like, oh, this person is skilled. Is a requirement of their partnership, wherever level they are, right? So if someone is a premier tier partner with AWS, this means in order to get the amenities that they get, putting their services out in the marketplace, helping them get clients, helping them get funding for their clients, which means AWS will actually take a budget a company has that you want, they need your help to migrate to the cloud and actually give them more money to migrate to the cloud. All of these things, then you have to have a certain number of certified folks on your team. And you have to maintain that. And what that does for the company is, let's say if everybody in their organization is certified, you can literally go to a client and say, everyone on my team is a certified expert. And now the amount that you charge can go from here to here. And you're not seeing that. They're going to get you at, let's say they could get you at 90. But guess what? They were able to go from 150 an hour charging for you on a billable client to now they charging 175. You're not seeing that $25 difference. They're keeping that money in their pocket. Just focus. The cert is nice to have, but you need to just focus on the work first. And then if you have time to get the cert. But it's the work and how you deliver what you're doing and communication and transparency to the customer is going to get you the job. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. And I think that that's a great point because I think the best way to get certs really is to get into a company that pays for your certs.
If they want the cert that bad, let them put you on a probationary period because you'll see in the job description where it says you have to be willing to get their solutions architect professional in 90 days. Cool. You're paying for it. I'm on your time and you're paying me to study for it. So that's cool, especially if you're helping them. That's how it should be, right? But the days of, oh, I just passed my 5th cert and you can't even explain a simple project of like you installing an Nginx web server on an EC2 instance, you can't explain what that is for, or you can't explain what an Apache web server on an instance is for, then we have a huge problem because you got 5 certs and your ass can't explain nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially in tech, it's like experience will, obviously verifiable corporate experiences first, and then you could get into certs versus personal projects. Okay, now at least it's a it's kind of a fight maybe, but be able to talk about a personal project, explain it, and show you're kind of passionate about that stuff. That's what's getting hired these days,
Yeah.
you know?
So as you say that, I know the question is gonna come in. It's like, well, how do I explain my projects? Well, first you got to understand that I feel like when you're looking at a job description that says 3 to 5 years experience, sometimes that's a hard 3 to 5 years experience. Sometimes HR took the time to not communicate with the engineer manager and just created a ChatGPT job description. But you have to understand that your exposure equals the experience. I'll say this, and I'm not trying to talk over you, Chris. I'm just trying to give this information. I'm sorry, man. So what I want to say is, if you spend your 6 months using a tool like Terraform, and you've been banging your head against the wall for 6 months, and you've solved a lot of problems, a lot of complex problems with Terraform, that tool, and let's say you get hired and you get into a role, and your peers are 3, 5 years of experience as a DevOps engineer, but they never use Terraform. Now your client needs you to use Terraform to deploy infrastructure, and your manager comes in and says, "Hey, we got a new project, and it's a Terraform heavy project. Who has the most experience?" Now, your team, 3 to 5 years, they could probably get up to speed a little quicker, right, than you would as a beginner, but you already been doing this for 6 months. So you're going to be looked at as the Terraform person because you came in with the understanding you've done Terraform. All right. So I want y'all to understand that how you explain your projects to get the opportunity to get hired should be this way. We call it SWORD: scenario, obstacle, action, result, troubleshooting. Same thing as SOAR. You heard AWS use the SOAR mechanism for interviewing. You're going to use SWORD. What was the scenario like? What problem are we solving with this project? You can't say, I just built blah, blah, blah using ABC. But why would we do that? Under what condition or scenario would a company want you to do that? What problem are you solving? What are the obstacles? Like, if a company's asking you to do that, what kind of obstacles are they facing because they want you to do that? What are the actions that you've taken to be able to solve these problems? And what were the results from your actions? But guess what? I don't believe it happened 1, 2, 3 because I know it doesn't work that way. I know you've gotten errors. I know you had failures. So I want to see the troubleshooting because that's the most important thing. Like, what is your process when you find a problem? How do you solve it? How do you relate to your team? How do you come and say, this is what I think we should do and do it and get the result. So I'm giving you the $1 million game to document your projects that way. And when you get into the interview, you can always relate it to it in the SWORD way. That's it.
Sort.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll have that in the description, guys.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of other things I want to get into because, well, first off, I'll just say, like, what would be kind of a step by step? So you mentioned it, mindset,
Mhm.
then maybe some Linux
Mhm.
fundamentals,
Mhm.
then the AWS exposure. When does scripting come in? When does Docker, Kubernetes,
Yeah.
is Terraform, like you said? When does CI/CD? When
Yeah.
do you expose them to DevOps? Kind of what's like a general progression that you take people through?
So it depends, right? It's not really a general rule of progression. It's just learning things one at a time. So what happens is people get into this, I'm learning this. Then someone comes along or one of their 13 mentors tell them, you know what, man, if you just start learning Python, I probably can get you a job. Because they got a role there. They need somebody Python heavy. And now you're trying to learn Python. Now you talk to the other mentor. He's like, hey, man, AI is on fire. You need to learn some of these AI services, AWS, Bedrock, and all of that. Now you're learning this, Python, and Bedrock. You talk to somebody else, Kubernetes, bro. Kubernetes is where you need to be. And now you're trying to learn 4 things at once and you don't understand nothing.
Right.
All right. So learn one thing at a time. So here's some of the skills you should put into your learning journey. First one is Linux. You understand server administration, containerization. So while you're in the command line, containerize those applications that you're deploying and see how Docker transition these applications. Kubernetes, you don't need to be maybe you want to be, but you don't have to be a Kubernetes expert. Kubernetes already in itself is a complex, masterful solutions platform that is just, it's complex sometimes. Just learn a little bit, understand how Kubernetes takes those containers and let you build like maybe a 2-node Kubernetes cluster to deliver services for your application from the front end to APIs to the database layer. Continuous integration and deployment. So, like using those applications, how do we take those applications through a build process to make sure the code works properly? How do we deploy it in a test environment to make sure our services that we want to deploy it in actually works? And then what does it look like when we deploy it in production or testing environment to make sure the customer can access the endpoint and our applications work? And then let's say if we crash one, does the application still come up or switch IPs to another container where the customer never loses downtime? And then AI, like just understand like how these AI services work, whether on Google, whether in Azure, whether in AWS, and just play with some models. Like you don't have to be an expert in AI, but at least try to use some of these tools if you're not going to use it to really solve problems for the customer or for your organization. At least use it on yourself so you can optimize your workflow and expedite how you're getting stuff done. Use it for yourself so you can expedite your workflow, learn faster, deploy quicker, get things done quicker. And infrastructure as code is always going to be a thing, right? So whether it's CloudFormation, whether it's Bicep, whether it's Terraform, Google Cloud used to have deployment manager, but I think it's like a marketplace thing now where it's just nothing that you can really write scripts on. But infrastructure is code, and just have a solid foundation of those things. If you have a solid, and obviously understand some security protocols too. Understand the little networking ports and firewalls and how things really work, how to network, how a customer could come into your network and how data flows through your network. Just have those foundations. Once you start learning those, don't ever stop learning those. Like we make the mistake of learning the foundations and then we're like, we got to build on top because that's what's going to get us a job. When in reality, if you just go over the foundations over and over and over and over again until it's embedded in your subconscious and you just doing it second nature, that makes you a super strong candidate because now you have the foundation. So it doesn't matter if they throw Kubernetes in front of your face. You understand how networking works. You understand server admin. You understand a little bit how containers work. You have a strong foundation there. Kubernetes would be a little easier for you. So hopefully I'm not talking too much for y'all.
It's all good stuff. I mean, what I like to tell people is if you're in tech, it's different than it was 5-10 years ago.
Absolutely.
You could do a job and then go home and not think about it. And now you just have to be leveling up your skills after hours.
All
like
the time. Yeah.
have a side hustle. It's to like continue to learn after hours for stuff like this because you'll just be left behind because something new will come out.
Yeah.
New, the next technology will come out. You don't even know what it is. People are already up on it.
Yeah.
And now you're getting beat out.
Yep.
Also in interviews, when you're able to drop some stuff about maybe the newest technology, now you set yourself apart because the manager's like, okay, this guy's up on everything. Great.
You'll
So,
become the expert because guess what? They're not up on it as well. Like they don't. A lot of companies haven't built a culture to adopt new AI technology as well. And it's just a funny thing because they put in their job descriptions that they're looking for AI experts, right? But they're not even investing in the culture to take this or what they want someone to have the skill set and build a culture around it so everyone can understand their place with using this in their organization. So I'll piggyback off of what you said. It's like you have to constantly be working towards the next thing. And this is what we've seen with cloud in 2020, where a lot of companies were anti-cloud 19, but guess what? COVID hit and they were forced to use cloud and they didn't have the talent. So you had companies that needed cloud talent, but they didn't have cloud talent to interview the cloud talent that they needed. So they had to hire other people to come into the organization to interview the talent that they needed. And they spent a ton of money doing this. So this is why sometimes you're seeing now like the layoffs as well. And it's due to two things. It's due to a lot of people or companies using AI and replacing a lot of the sales process, HR process, etc. But it's also two, people are not upskilling because they didn't realize AI would come as fast as it did because, it's just what it is. But number three, they're still trying to get back from the cloud spending they did in 2020. 2020, 2021, and 2022 and 2023. So they're not trying to make the same mistake. Always be upskilling. So you, if something happens and God forbid you do have a layoff, you have enough skills to go somewhere else and be an asset to another company just like that. So that's what Chris trying to say as well, and I am.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think another kind of like to piggyback on what you said, it's like I think in these interviews, one great way to stand out is have kind of a unique way you're using AI in your personal life or in your career, and just be ready to drop that because that's what when I talk to a lot of hiring managers, they're always very impressed with that. Some, entry level person, but they're like, oh yeah, I automated this or that with ChatGPT or Claude Code, or oh, I've been messing around with Grok or whatever. Just have something unique that you're doing, or even if you have to make it up. But be ready to talk about that as well in these interviews because that's really what's impressing these people.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
but let me let's really kind of go through one thing before we go. I want to talk about the career paths
Okay.
that you have seen people do, because I think that is maybe obviously there's great pay in cloud, which we can get into as well,
Mhm.
but it's so versatile because then you get in, you go to DevOps and SRE, you could be platform if you get the heavy
Yeah.
Kubernetes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cloud security.
Yeah.
Now there's cloud data engineer.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about like some progressions that you've seen in career paths from people. Start off as cloud engineers that you've taught, and like where they ended up.
Yeah, so a, a lot of places. So you can start off as cloud engineer, some people start off cloud consultant or solutions engineer, which is typical consultant. You're involved in the sales process or pre-sales architect or engineer, etc. And you're just involved in the sales process of discovery with the client, seeing if it's a great fit, and building out the statement of work and designing the solution and getting the contract signed. But they go on to find things they like to do. Like, oh man, I like FinOps. Like, this is great and it's paying well. And some people get in and say, you know what? I like being technical, but I don't want to be technical right now. So I like reports. Because they're pulling from their old job. Like, when I was doing this, I loved that at such and such. So this is like typically the same type of role, but it's in cloud focus and I'm still working with engineers, etc. Or some people say, I love security. You know what, bro? It's like, I like being a cloud engineer, but I always had a strong passion for cybersecurity. So now I want to kind of match that up with what I'm doing. Some people like data. Some people like incident response. We've seen people, the traditional upgrade will be cloud engineer to more, okay, senior cloud engineer, or they go into more architect or consulting, and they architects make great money, but you may have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clients at a time, right, that you're working on. So it all depends on what you want out of a career. Some people get into cloud engineering and make 130, 140 and say, hey, bro, you know what? My company is cool. As long as I do my job, they don't bother me. I get to go to lunch with my wife or husband. I get to spend extra time with my kids, and I could take off early anytime I want. As long as I get the job done, I'm straight. I'm cool. I don't want to, because anything else just costs too much. Me being in meetings, etc. So what I'm saying is, the industry is open. Like, anything that you do, that you get into, is not lost if you want to pivot. And I think that's a thing that people think is a roadblock. Like, well, what if I don't like it? Well, everything that you learn here goes over there. Like,
Yeah.
you're learning with us anyway, you're learning a 60% foundational base that can carry you across several different roles. So even if you don't like complete engineering, but let's say you want to go over here where people are becoming data engineers. I like working with PySpark. I like working with Apache Spark. I like doing all these things, wrangling data. Cool. I want to be in machine learning, AI. Cool. So as we go on to the industry in 2026 and 2027, we're going to see more roles open up, new roles come. Other roles will fade and new roles will be presented. So just stay on your P's and Q's and continue to stay consistent in showing up and being better and better every single day. And the roles that come out that pay a shit ton of money, you can go and grab them because you were consistent in learning and positioning yourself for them every day anyway. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and pretty much any of those careers at the senior level, which is kind of just like 5+ years, they're all 200K plus. Or, I do a
200.
lot of consulting, 100 an hour, 100 an hour, 4K a week, 40 hours. just like you're done at 5 o'clock every day. So these are these are great careers, and I share all my open roles in the chat in the community for Level Up in Tech, and you can see what these high level roles pay. Even though you're probably not going to be maybe a fit for them right away, but you can see down the line, and it's not too far away. You're going to make 200K plus easy. Sometimes bonus on top, equity, stock options. Now you're making some real money. So,
Yeah.
who's your ideal person to consider level up in tech?
Person that's mid-career professional. You probably average age 29, let's say 44. You could be younger or older, doesn't matter. But if you are stuck in your career and you had a knack like, I want to get into tech, I want to get into cloud, but I'm like super confused. I don't know what to do. I try talking to different people, but I'm still just, I don't know. Because what we'll do is we don't know, but we'll say, I'm waiting for the right path. And my question to you is, how would you know if it's the right path if you don't know how to get there? So ask yourself two things. Who do I need to become in order to be successful in this industry? And who do I need? Right? And if you're that person that you're just stuck and confused, we would love to see if we are able to help you get you to your next career level and get you out of what you're doing and making more money. We've been doing this for 6 years. We've helped thousands of people, and I've seen it all. So I've seen every emotion, every type of person, the know-it-alls to the people who say I'm just an empty vessel and ready to learn. So it doesn't matter your where you at. The last thing I would just say is this: regardless of where you are, where you want to go is going to require you to become a different person, think differently, and build different habits. If you can't do that, most of you won't go to the next level. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have even a passing interest in cloud, then definitely check out Level Up in Tech. I mean, you want to learn from a guy like this who's done it many, many times and help people get some pretty high paying careers in this cloud space.
And my team as well, including Chris. We got just thank you for everybody. We got we're principal architects, CTOs, senior managers, director of cloud engineers, lead site reliability engineering. So just I appreciate all the people that help shape everyone that's coming out of this program into the engineer that they said they wanted to be. So thank y'all.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for coming on, Broadus. We've been talking about this for 6 months, so we finally made it happen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And yeah, guys, check it out, and I'll be your career coach. So I hope you get a great cloud job.
Let's go. See y'all
Let's
later.
do it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Cool.
Chris.
All right, Broadus.
All right.
Thanks, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.